Major, in the opener, you had to wait a little while to get things clicking offensively. It looked like you guys came straight out of the gate. Can you kind of address the ability, though, to jump out to that big lead today, and how much that helped you guys?
Well, I thought the offensive staff, all the guys, Coach Prowls, coordinating that staff, did an outstanding job of explaining to the guys what we left on the field in the first half last week. And I think the players saw the plays that they could have made. Even though scoring 47 against Rice or 45, we could have seen more explosiveness in the first half, and those guys practiced hard at it. And the players and the coaches deserve all the credit. They did an outstanding job in the first half. Defense, too. To go out there and hold them to nothing in the first half against a great player and great players. I don't want to take anything away from the other skill players on that side of the ball, but very proud of the way they started off fast.
Major, could you discuss the fact of the loss of focus in between the third and the fourth quarter, and sort of open the door to let them get back in for a little bit?
Yeah, we had we had a penalty. I had a personal foul on the sideline that extended the drive. We were trying to work some substitutions into the third, fourth quarter, and that'll be a point of emphasis. I haven't watched the film, but just being out there, you can see that when we took some of our starters out, there was a lapse in focus, a lapse in production, and what we've got to do is we've got to be a deep team. The great teams that I've been around, been fortunate enough to be on or be a coach on, have been able to play 2 and 3 deep. So we've got to be able to create trust and production and fill those gaps. And I was proud of our first team defense coming back out and getting a goal line stand after being on ice for a little bit. But we've got to work at that. We've got to work our second and third teams more.
D'Eriq King's performance, obviously 6 touchdowns on the day when a lot of people probably tuned in to see something similar from the other side of the ball. What are your thoughts on just what he was able to do as far as diversity today?
Well, just proud of him. Forget titles and head coach. Just to a man, that guy is so competitive. He's such a great leader. He's tough. He's been through adversity. He's been told he's too short his whole life. I feel that. So I'm pulling for him. I love him as a competitor. I'd love him if he didn't play football. He's just that kind of guy. And so for him to have that type of game, it's not a surprise to us in the locker room. So just pleased that he's playing at a high level right now.
Were you surprised the fact that y'all were even so effective on the passing game today as opposed? Y'all typically been trying to be a run dominant, but y'all were very effective on the passing game today.
Yes, sir. It was effective. I mean, D'Eriq was putting the ball in the right places. Receivers were making plays. And if we're critical on ourselves, which we are, there was another 100 to 150 yards of receiving out there in the first half on some drops. So we'll go back and we'll focus on those things. But just very proud of them. And we talk about it during the week. We practice hard, we prepare hard, and we expect great things. We're not going to be egotistical about it. We're going to be humble in victory, but we expect to have great things happen because of the way we prepare.
Major, what are some of the keys? You say you want the team to be deeper. What are some of the keys to making that happen?
You've got to play. You got to play more. You have to get into that situation, and sometimes it's a jagged pill to swallow. But you've got to swallow it, and now you've got film to go back and teach, whoever it is, whether it's backup linebackers, defensive linemen, offensive linemen. This is what we need to do. And as a coach, you also realize, hey, I'm coaching a guy who hasn't played very much, so I've got to amp my game up as I put this second and third team guy in. So it's across the board. It's more preparation by 2s and 3s. You've got to understand your one sprained ankle, one helmet from falling off before you're playing. And then as a coach, we've got to spend more time. There's a reason why this guy is a 2 or a 3, so we've got to spend more time in developing him, meeting with him one-on-one, so he's able to go in there and perform when his number is called.
So that being said, how good was it to get that lead today and get a bunch of those guys in?
It was great. I mean, we need that, and when you just looking at the roster, I know you don't get that deep in it, but when you lose as many players as we lost in terms of just a turning over of a staff, you're down numbers, and so you do have a lot of young players, and you've got to have some young players step up, and you've got a lot of guys graduating after this year, and I know nobody looks at that, but you've got to start thinking ahead, and so those guys have to get in there. So it's an outstanding job by the defense holding to nothing in the first half. It's a great job by the offense going out there and creating a lead where we can develop some depth.
Major, this offense, rightfully so, gets a lot of the attention, but if you look at the second half against Rice and then the first half, I think they allowed only 3 points in 4 quarters during that span. Big difference in terms of maybe what you saw in Rice in terms of some of the things that you wanted to correct, like the third downs,
right,
third and long, or did you just feel like for what they showed in the first half, this was about as good as this defense can be, or at least this is kind of what you had hoped or expected coming into the year?
Yeah, I think the first half of Rice was more first game type stuff, and it's two different worlds. I mean, what they played on first and second down versus the way Rice plays on third down, especially third and long situations, is almost like playing two different offenses. So, once we settled into that in the second half against Rice, we played a lot better. And then, quite honestly, what Arizona does on offense is more in tune to what we've been doing 25 days of fall camp. So our guys are a little bit more attuned to that type of offense. But I thought our guys' focus and preparation all week. So what we said at the hotel was we've had a great week of preparation. We should expect to have great things happen today. And so they went out, and the coaches, players, they did an outstanding job today. Outstanding.
Quickly, Coach, on Austin Robinson, second game to start the season where he's at the top of the stats. For a guy you guys didn't probably expect to have back at the end of last season, what do you think from his start to the season as far as leadership and then just execution as well?
Well, he had an outstanding week of practice. And anybody that goes out and flips the coin for us that's named captain has had a great week of practice. So Alex Myers did an outstanding job on special teams against Rice. Great week this week. De'Eric, obviously, you see he played well. So he had another great week, and Austin Robinson played well as well. So it's no coincidence those guys played well because they prepared well. But Austin is such a solid person. Number one, he's an outstanding student. He's a graduate engineering degree. I mean, so he's extremely bright and intelligent. He's a great athlete too, and he's just open to coaching. He is open 24/7 to being coached hard, and it was good to see those guys go out and play well, especially at home. It's so good to be back at home at TDECU Stadium and see a great crowd, and we can't wait to be back here in 2 weeks.